and they've done acting for a long time, they may even naturally sometimes, accidentally fall back into these habits. But what it is it's an actor who does things that are very unrealistic when the cameras are rolling or when they're on stage and they're performing for a bunch of different people. You'll see this a lot, this first example, in stage work, where there will be an actor, they have their scene partner, and they'll be here, and then they'll be talking, they'll be doing their scene, and then they're leaning forward, and then they're back, and then they're leaning forward when they talk, and then they go back. It's this back and forth movement, so they can say, hey, how are you doing today? Oh, really, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. And then they're listening, and then they're back here. And then they lean forward when they have to speak again, and they go, oh, really, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I went over there to the place like 2 weeks ago or something like that, and then they're back. It's this constant movement of back and forth and back and forth. And naturally, in our everyday real life, we don't do that. Naturally, we're here, we're back, and we talk and we interact with people. But when it comes to acting, for whatever reason, we do things that are a little bit unrealistic. Another thing that we do, the second thing, is we have all these gestures that are mirrored. So when I'm talking, I'll be here, oh, okay, I'm talking, my hands are going together. They're mirroring each other. It's not this one does something or this one does something. It's they're both doing something. It's mirroring, and it looks very awkward when it's on stage or when it's in film. But in film, we're lucky where the camera can kind of cut you out a little bit, so we can't see what your hands are doing if they're doing the same thing over and over. Whereas on stage, we definitely can see that. Even though you can't see it, say, necessarily on camera, you still don't want it to be a habit, because it can still be something where a director's like, hey, don't do that, because there will be moments when they want long shots, when they're farther away from you, when they want your whole body in, or they want half your body in, and they see all this happening, they're like, it's way too much. You gotta stop that. You gotta relax your hands. So avoid doing gestures that mirror each other, because it looks weird. It doesn't look natural. Sometimes you can. Sometimes it's perfectly fine. But for the most part, what you want to do, you want to try and avoid doing that same gestures that mirror each other. The last one on here, and sorry, I wrote this down, so let me double check. The last thing is that you don't want to do is you don't want to have your voice be at one note, the same thing over and over. It stays at one tone, and then you say, hey, what are you doing today? Hey, I was over here, and then I went to this thing, and it was really cool, and then I saw a dog, and there was a cat, and hey, what are you doing over there? Do you see how my voice just stays the same, and it doesn't really travel or have waves or movements or levels? And you see this a lot. This is something else you see a lot too. And if you get the opportunity to work behind the camera ever, and you just get to observe actors acting, when it comes to new actors especially, you'll see a lot of that happening. They'll just stay at this tone, and then they don't change their tone at all, and then they have their line. And that's it. You want to have waves and levels when you're talking.